Hey, Swole Journal Nation, it's great to have you back in the lab. Today, we're dissecting a critical concept that's often overlooked, misunderstood, and frankly, butchering your gains. Range of motion. Not just any range of motion, but optimal range of motion. We're talking about where muscle growth gets lost, not because you're not training hard, but because you're leaving significant physiological stimulus on the table. Your body is the experiment, your journal is the lab. Let's make sure your experiments are yielding maximum results. For decades, the mantra has been full range of motion, and while it's a good starting point, it's an oversimplification. True full range of motion, for many exercises, might extend beyond where a muscle can effectively generate tension and experience the necessary mechanical stress for hypertrophy. Think about a bicep curl. Going from full extension to complete flexion is often touted as ideal. But what if the very ends of that range are compromising your primary goal? Building bigger, stronger muscles? The core principle we need to understand revolves around muscle tension and the specific physiological mechanisms that drive hypertrophy. Muscle growth, primarily, is stimulated by mechanical tension. This tension causes microtrauma, metabolic stress, and cellular signaling cascades that lead to increased protein synthesis and ultimately muscle hypertrophy. However, a muscle's ability to generate tension varies across its length. Consider the force-length relationship of a muscle. A muscle generates its maximal force at an optimal resting length. When a muscle is excessively stretched, its ability to generate active tension diminishes because the actin and myosin filaments are pulled too far apart, reducing the number of cross bridges that can form. Conversely, when a muscle is excessively shortened, the filaments overlap too much, and the muscle runs out of room to contract effectively, again reducing its force-generating capacity. This means that the very beginning and very end of an extreme full range of motion might be the least effective parts of the movement for applying growth-stimulating tension. Let's dive deeper into motor unit recruitment. To maximize muscle growth, we need to activate as many high-threshold motor units as possible and keep them active for a sufficient duration under tension. High-threshold motor units innervate fast-twitch muscle fibers, which have the greatest potential for hypertrophy. These motor units are primarily recruited when a muscle is producing significant force. If your range of motion takes you into positions where the muscle's mechanical advantage is poor, or where passive structures like connective tissue are taking over, you're not effectively recruiting or fatiguing those crucial high-threshold motor units. You're essentially training a different system, or no system at all, for growth. Take the bench press, for example. Many lifters go all the way down until the bar touches their chest. For some, this extreme depth places the shoulder joint in a vulnerable position, leading to injury risk. More importantly for our discussion, at the very bottom of the range, the pectoral muscles are significantly stretched and the triceps are in a very lengthened position. While some stretch can be beneficial, an excessive stretch can reduce the active tension these muscles can generate. The force production shifts away from the prime movers and potentially onto passive structures or stabilizer muscles that aren't the target of hypertrophy. Similarly, at the very top, when you lock out your elbows, the tension often shifts from the triceps and pectorals to the skeletal system, effectively allowing your joints to bear the load rather than your muscles. So, where does the muscle growth get lost? It gets lost in those extreme ends of the range where the muscle is either too stretched or too shortened to efficiently generate maximal tension. It gets lost when you're prioritizing arbitrary depth or lockout over sustained, high-quality tension in the target muscle. It gets lost when you're allowing momentum to dictate the movement rather than controlled, purposeful contraction. The solution isn't to start doing half reps in the middle of a movement. The solution is to identify the effective range of motion for each exercise and muscle group. This is the range where the target muscle can generate significant tension and maintain it throughout the entire concentric and eccentric phases. It's the range where you can feel the muscle working, where you can maintain control, and where the load is effectively stressing the contractile tissues, not just the joints or connective tissue. Let's get practical. For most compound movements and isolation exercises, this effective range of motion often involves stopping just short of a complete lockout on the concentric phase and stopping just short of an extreme uncontrolled stretch on the eccentric phase. Consider a barbell curl for biceps. Instead of going to full elbow extension, stop with a slight bend in your elbow. This keeps constant tension on the biceps. At the top, don't let the weight come all the way to your shoulders where tension might dissipate. Stop just before that point, maintaining the squeeze. For a squat, going ass to grass might be great for mobility, but for pure quad hypertrophy, stopping just below parallel, where the quads are maximally engaged and the glutes haven't completely taken over, might be more effective. Here's your actionable advice for optimizing range of motion. For isolation exercises like bicep curls, tricep extensions, and lateral raises, aim for 3 to 4 sets of 8 to 12 repetitions. Focus on a controlled 2-second concentric, a 1-second peak contraction, and a 3-second eccentric. During the eccentric, consciously stop just before the point where you feel the tension shift away from the target muscle or when your joint is at its absolute end range. For the concentric, stop just before lockout or before the weight feels like it's resting at the top. Rest for 60-90 seconds between sets. For compound movements like the bench press or overhead press, aim for 3 to 5 sets of 6 to 10 repetitions. Use a 1-second pause at the bottom of your effective range to eliminate momentum, then drive up with a controlled 2-second concentric, stopping just short of lockout. Your eccentric should be a controlled 3-second descent. Your rest periods here should be longer, 2 to 3 minutes, to allow for sufficient ATP regeneration to maintain high force output. The key is mind-muscle connection within this optimized range. Are you feeling the target muscle working throughout the entire movement? Is the tension consistent? If you can articulate these answers, you're on the right track. Don't be afraid to lighten the load initially to master this precise technique. Your body will thank you, and your muscles will grow. This isn't about ego lifting or looking like you're doing partial reps. This is about intelligent training, leveraging physiological principles to maximize your hypertrophic response. It's about making every rep count within the most productive segments of the movement. If this helped, subscribe to Swole Journal and start tracking what actually works.